I have ninth graders, and they're the funnest people the most fun people I've ever been around. They are full of life, sometimes too innocent to a fault. They're very hopeful about a lot of things, but the things that they're not innocent about, it's there. They go through a lot of hard things that surprises even me. But like I said, a lot of the problems that they talk to me about is very surprising, but I wouldn't trade the things I've learned from them because they've helped me a lot as far as growing up and maturing myself as much as I could have ever hoped for them. If I was never a corps member, I would have been totally blinded to the issues that the students are facing. The one thing I've taken away from this is it's not fair for everybody, like not even close. I thought I had it hard, and it's not even comparable to what the students
kind of like overwhelmed by the daunting nature of inequality in access to higher education, and being like, how am I felt so small in such a big problem, and that's a really frustrating feeling. And so I spent a lot of my first couple of weeks being like, what is my role here? What am I doing? Like, how am I going to do anything when this problem is so big? And it's so much bigger than I am. And it's so much bigger than my classroom. It's so much bigger than Northwestern, Liberty City, and Miami. Then I kind of was like, all right, let me see what I can do for Victor. Let me see what I can do for Raquel. I was like, these people are my students, special individuals. This is their life. Yeah, I recognized I was an outsider coming in many, many ways. But I got to know them, and I got to know, what their family structures, what was important to their family, what was important to them, what they want to achieve. And I said to myself, I need to the big picture is very important, but it couldn't consume me. So I kind of grounded myself in my students and individuals and said, what can I do for these 150 students that I have that's going to set them up better for whatever it is they want to do after high school.
I want my students to accomplish realizing what's ahead of them. They're not short of dreams. They have dreams for days. The thing that I want them to accomplish, though, is knowing what it'll take to get there. They are freshmen, so they're just starting their educational careers, but as long as they realize that it's not going to be easy, I don't want them to wake up when they're 25 wondering what happened to them. And I feel like that's what happens in this community, is that they wake up not knowing what happens, but if they realize sooner than later what it takes, then they can start working on it right now when they're ninth graders.
There's just a pervasive information gap. Thinking about this year, that's probably been the biggest thing I've learned and what I'm taking with me. And however long I stay in the classroom, which I do plan to for a while, that's what we need to fix. Because even our highest kids just don't know so much that they need to know in order to get to where they want to go. They don't know about things like SAT 2s. That's never talked about, and that's a requirement. They don't know that they can apply for summer programs at those schools that help them get in. They don't even know really how to navigate the FAFSA. And that's probably the biggest barrier to higher education for a lot of my students. So sometimes I just am overwhelmed by the amount of inherent knowledge I had going through the application process versus the knowledge that they lack. And that's pushing me. That's kind of what I'm working to fight against every day. I'm going to work with the staff at my school, the graduation coach for sure, and the CAP advisor, to build, honestly, just information nights for parents of freshmen and sophomore, to kind of help them help their students prepare for what's to come. Because starting junior year, that puts you at an enormous disadvantage. Well,
science is real life. I tried to instill in them that science is something that they see every day. Science was my least favorite subject, and so I had to learn that for myself. And I think that helped a lot with helping them see that the things that we study in science are things that are natural and that can explain a lot of the reasons why things happen, not just in the physical world, but also in their heads and what's going on with their families.
And in first grade, like, I had the lesson structure, I had the procedures, like, I had all these things, like, people were coming in and saying, like, yeah, that looks good, like, oh yeah, this is good. And I think the thing that, like, really, when I actually started turning my classroom around, like, was actually a later point in time, and people didn't, it wasn't as noticeable of a change, but it was when, like, I kind of just kept pushing and telling myself that kids could do it. And there were honestly a lot of times when I did not think that just kids could accomplish these things. Like, I remember one student that I had who, you know, you would do like 2 + 7 and you'd be like 4, you know, and it wouldn't matter what question you asked him, it was just, the answer was just out of left field. You'd be like, why are you, you know, doing this? You show him like 17 different strategies and it just like wasn't happening. And I just kept pushing with that kid, just thinking like, that kid can do it. I know this kid can do it. I know he can do it. And but looking forward, to me, the question is like, what can I do as a teacher, as an educator, to push my students forward so that they have an innate love of school, an innate love of learning, an innate like belief in themselves that like they deserve these things, that you know, like they deserve college, they deserve to be in Breakthrough. We have 23 students out of like 58 in Breakthrough this year for the first time. I, throughout my time here, have had classrooms that were my first year classroom. The kids did really well, didn't count towards the school grade. So I had kids saying things like, you know, I go to a failing school, I'm a failing student. It's like, no, you got an 8 on the SAT 10, you're not a failing student. But, I mean, explain that to a 6-year-old. And they internalize that idea as like, I'm less than, I'm not. I know the kids are performing, I know they're excellent. And then last year, I had, it was my first year in 3rd grade, I had 76% proficient on FCAT. And I was just thinking like, if I took the experiences that I had and what I learned this year and moved with the same kids, I know I can get to 80 or 90%. And so now I'm thinking moving forward, we don't have the results from the FCAT this year, obviously, but moving forward into 5th grade, like if I go with these kids, I'll have had a lot of them for 2 or 3 years. Half of them are now in Breakthrough, and so they'll go there and develop that over the summer and then come back to me. And I just think about like how much larger my impact could be if I was able to stay an additional year. And then after that, like, I mean, I'm even thinking about like, can I go to middle school? Like, can I go to 6th grade? Like, is that a possibility? Or like, am I going to loop down and now I have 1st graders who are going to be in 4th grade next year? So then I would be following them also. And I just think like those student narratives and those kind of stories and things are really what drives me to stay and keep working. It's like like something that it hasn't gotten easier for me is really thinking about how to deal like with my own emotions and my own thoughts about what these students are like coming in with. And some of the stories, you know, that my students will tell me, or some of the things that they'll say, it's just not like, it's not fair. It's not fair that that's their reality. And they come in every day, and I have like, all of my students are incredible. Like, I don't really have any students that, you know, I could say like, oh, that kid, like, whatever. All my students are incredible, and I think the things that they face every day is just not fair. I didn't have to face those challenges. I think like most people don't have to face those challenges. And I think that that's also the main reason why I come back to the work and why I keep coming back and why I can't really get away from the work, is because you just see these children like meeting these goals in the face of like what sometimes seems like insurmountable odds, and it's just like incredibly inspiring. Like, I think about myself as a person, and I think like I don't know if I could do that. Like, I don't know if I was that child. I know what that child is. I know their life, like, a little bit. What I do know, well, you know, and I don't know a lot of it. But what I do know about it, like, I don't know if I would have the strength to do that.